Hello guys, we are on the seventh game in the Weakening the King's Defenses series, and the game is played between Reshevsky and Santaisir in New York 1939. It's a Slav defense. The game goes d4, d5, c4, c6, knight, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight c3, d4, a4, and bishop to f5. Now e3, e6, bishop takes c4, bishop b4. Now short castle, and queen to e2, and now bishop to g4 and h3, bishop h5, and after bishop h5, rook d1, then knight bd7. Now e4, queen e7, uh, and then e5, then knight to d5, and then knight to e4, then h6, and knight to g3, bishop g6, and knight to e1. Now we have f6, and then ef6, queen f6, and then knight to d3, bishop to d6, knight to e4, and queen e7, knight takes d6, queen takes d6, rook a3, and rook to e8, and knight to e5. Here white stands better as black's position is weakened in several respects, and the white pieces are well positioned to exploit these weaknesses. The white knight controls the important squares at g6 and f7, and the white rook posted on the third rank adds to the chances of a sacrifice at h6. Finally, the b1 h7 diagonal at present held by black's light squared bishop is in fact also vulnerable. White has in consequence many possibilities of attack, and black will have a difficult though not an impossible task. Now bishop to h7. Black fails to tackle the difficulties that beset him and straight away makes the decisive mistake. How difficult it is in such position to hit upon the right move is shown by the fact that the obvious move knight takes e5, which eliminates the powerful knight, is equally insufficient. If at all knight takes e5, and after d takes e5, if queen c5, then rook to g3, rook to g3 is coming. The computer shows to play queen c7, still rook g3 is coming. So if at all after rook g3, and what's the idea of queen c7 and queen to f7, then rook to d4, king h8, or even bishop to h5, queen to d2, and rook to d8, b4, b6, and then a5, and king to h8. So this is how the game would have gone. Bishop to a3 or bishop to b2, and then rook to d7, and then bishop to a3, and then queen to e8, and then king h2. So the game would have gone like this. So here after, so here knight, so that's why knight takes e5 was not any better for black. So after bishop h7, and now rook g3, threatening to win a pawn by bishop takes h6. Black can parry the threat neither by rook f6. Here if at all rook f6, then knight to g4 is coming, or if knight to f4, then queen to g4 is coming. So now after king to h8, and now bishop takes d5, after c takes d5, now bishop takes h6, if at all e takes d5, now knight to f7 check, and if queen takes d5, then again bishop takes h6, g takes h6, and then knight takes d7. That would be a blunder. So here c takes, after c takes d5, bishop takes h6, rook e7. If g takes h6, then there is knight takes d7, and again this is coming. So after that rook e7, and bishop to d2, knight takes e5, d takes e5, queen b6, bishop to e3, queen a5, I'm sorry, queen to a5, and then rook to d4. White must win, for he has a sound extra pawn and can continue his attack with undiminished energy. Now rook to f5. If at all bishop to f5 is played, then queen h5 check is coming, king g8, and then rook to h4 will win. The computer says to go for bishop e4, then king to h2, or even queen to h5, then king g8. Now king now b4, and then f3. Okay, and then now it's coming. And black is losing here to g6. To g6. Now this and this and this and this and this. So let's see what happened in the game. After rook to f5, rook h4, queens, rook to h4, and now queen, after rook queen c7, queen g4, and then king g8, bishop g5, rook e f7, bishop to f6, and now a6. If at all g6 is played, then queen takes g6 is coming, and then if this bishop is taken, then he takes f6, rook takes f6, queen to h5 is coming, is coming. So after a6, now a5, now queen to d7. If at all rook d7 is played, king h2, d4, rook to h6, d3, queen to h4 is coming. So if this is taken, then this. And this. So white wins here. So guys, I hope you would have enjoyed the game. I'll be meeting you in the last final game in this series. Thank you all.